the first event that we get back and it's actually live, people are going to be out of their minds.
Yes.
Everything.
Like everything, you name it. You even get like 15 people together, and people are going to be just vibrating because we just haven't had it for so long.
It's gonna be
anxious
nuts.
for it,
I'm
yeah.
very anxious for it, but I'm also like, I'm like I feel like I'm gonna get to a point where it's like, oh man, there's too many people here. Like, God damn it! Like, I wish there was. I wish there wasn't this many people. Like, what would be a good example of like you don't want that many people in one spot? Like, a good one would be like skiing. Like when it truly opens all the way back up, and the lift lines are just like out the wazoo, and you're like, "Come on, like what's going on here?"
Sure.
Like we're gonna be like at a concert, and you're like waiting for a corn dog or something. You're like, God, there's so many people here.
To me, man, what that just reminds me of, we seem to always find something to complain about.
Yes.
Like right now, it's like, oh, I can't wait till we get to live events again. Then we get to live events, and we're like, there's 7 people in line for a corn dog. This is just unacceptable. It's like, no, man. It's like, God, it's funny how easy we, overlook how good and easy we have it sometimes.
Oh yeah, exactly. But like, I mean, we've been doing like, this is our 3rd podcast this time I'm home, but like I feel like the last like 4 or 5 have been, because it's just the time of the year where it's just like you're reflecting and you like look back to January and you're like, damn, like there's so many things that happened this year. So many just like occurrences. Ooh, wait, I just realized something.
Oh. Is that? Oh, your headphones weren't plugged in?
I don't think Jason's headphones are plugged in.
Now can you hear us?
Can you hear us?
Yeah.
I could hear you guys.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Got
really?
it. Maybe
Oh,
it was
I wonder how
Marcus's headphones, number 3.
Oh,
Yeah.
that might be it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Very
Sorry.
easily could be.
Yeah, but I guess where I was getting at is like, what's like one, we've been asking this a lot on the last couple podcasts, but like, what's like one big thing that you took away from like this year that you're ready to like triple down on or amplify in the future after this post-COVID thing, or even just now? Is there something that you learned this year that you're going to apply to the future?
Man. That's one where like my initial instinct is just to like blurt something out, but I'm like, that's such a good question that I actually want to think through it. So ask it again. Ask it one more time.
Okay. What's one thing this year that you kind of took away or experienced or did for the first time maybe that you're going to take and triple down on and use in the future?
Yeah, so I think my wife and I, you guys obviously know Malia, so we live downtown Minneapolis in like a 400 square foot apartment. It's tiny. And so when things started to close, we called our friend who lives outside of Milwaukee, about 45 miles north of Milwaukee, and he's got this cool little development that he has. There's 6 houses on it. There's a private little kind of fishing lake. And we called him and we just said, hey, Tim, this isn't going to work, man. It's like Malia and I working in this 400 square foot place. It's going to end.
It's going to drive us crazy.
It's going to drive us crazy. It's not going to end well for either of us. And he's just like, come on out. And so we spent the first 4 months of lockdown living in community with 8 to 10 other people. And every day we're drinking coffee around the table. Every morning. Every night we were having family and community dinners where everybody would bring something to contribute. Right? And so I think what I took away from that specifically, but from the entirety of this thing, is we're genetically, we're DNA, we're at our souls and at our spirits, we're meant to do life, like not just in proximity to people, but literally intertwined with other people. Mm-hmm. And the reason that situation, that scenario worked for us is because everybody was like, what can I bring to the table tonight for dinner, for example? Whether it was even just a knife to cut the meat because all of our knives were dull. And I think what I took away from that is how simple it is to truly live in community as long as someone and everyone brings something to the table. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense.
So
there's so much energy from community and fulfillment because you're not only feeding off of them, but you have the ability to give and provide for others so that they can grab energy from you. Like simple example is this house alone, the 5 people that live here, we feed off each other's energy, like very real. If someone's down and like, not doing something, like not keeping up their part of the house, that brings down the energy. Dishes are not getting done. X, Y, and Z, there's just kind of there's a lull going on. But for the most part, we're all high energy guys that are like high achievers that want more out of life. So it's very motivating to see Jonah come out of his room, to see Matt Heron, a good friend of ours that is a engineer, come out of his room every day and like fired up after a great meeting, maybe getting a promotion, something along those lines. Like community, being intertwined with community, it goes a long way, and recognizing that more than ever this year has been the biggest part.
Hey, hit your button, dude.
Oh.
We're self-producing this one.
Yeah.
No, but dude, that's such a good point. Like, I'm realizing how much I crave community now that I am living by myself in an RV. Like, but on the flip side, like, I love it. First off, like, I love being able to have like my alone time and really just like grasp and have like conversations with myself. I've gotten past the point of like I'm a psychopath for talking to myself. I'm just like. Instead, I'm like very excited that I'm talking to myself. But, dude, community. I mean, it's so powerful, and I didn't realize how powerful it was, especially being like you were talking about, Andrew, like with our roommates out here. Like every time I visit now, it's just like, damn, there's a lot of good energy all around here, and you can channel it in so many different ways. Yeah. Like I just find myself creatively, I'm just like. My heart is on fire when I'm here because I just have so many outlets of influence and energy and creativity. It's nuts.
Have you guys read the book Tribe by Sebastian Junger by chance?
I've been told to read it.
Because it's a must. It's a must. I just finished it. It's only like 5 hours on Audible or whatever. It's a quick one. But I just finished it again yesterday. And you read it
again? You've listened to it twice?
Again, because I listened to it before the pandemic, and then now it's like we're in a different space completely. Like we're different people after going through a pandemic. We'd agree with that. So I figured I'd hear it differently, and I did. And something that really stuck out to me is the fact that when the Native Americans, and we'll call them the Pilgrims, right? When they were basically trying to figure out, are we going to get along, and are we going to collaborate, or are we going to compete? What they've done studies on is they've discovered that there's thousands of instances where white settlers ran from their families and friends to live with the Native Americans. Thousands of data points. And then the whites would send search parties out. And then when they would actually find them, they would everything they could to refuse to go back to live with family and friends. The people that literally came over from Europe, from England, they go, no way in hell am I going back to live with in that type of setup. Do you know how many documented cases there are of a Native American going to live with the settlers?
I couldn't even guess.
I got him at. Well, there was Pocahontas, right?
Yeah, there you go. That'd be the only one, I guess. From what the book says, that's right on. From what the book says, that's funny.
There's your data point. I
hadn't thought about that.
It's the most famous data point ever.
From what it is, that's good. That's actually a great data point. From what the book says, right, 0, not a single one. We've obviously refuted that. There is one. So we'll have to, we'll have to call the author. But it's just it reminds me of like we're not meant to live in a society where we're separate and there's rules and structures and policies and procedures and we have to be a certain way. We're meant to live in communities with others where we can be fully self-expressive, right? And we can be free and everyone's bringing something else to the table. That's when civilizations thrive, I believe, right? So I'm making that point again, and you got to read the book.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, I think Mark Amick just was on our podcast, and he recommended Tribes.
Oh, for real?
That's why we just...
Yeah, that's why it rings a bell.
Yep.
Okay,
that's a sign. Two podcast guests in the last 3 recommended Tribes. That's a sign. That's a big sign.
I like that. So like this, I know we kind of talked about this off air a little bit, but like, you said you started like you're doing a lot of keynote speaking online. Like, are you trying to take make that kind of like your full-time gig now, or what's the update on that? I would love to know.
Yeah. So long term, yeah, absolutely. I love my day job. I'm at 3M. I've been at 3M for about 8 years or so.
Nice.
And especially during COVID, because I'm in the world of occupational health and well-being, the safety business. And so we got to keep up our people healthy and safe so they can make the N95s that the healthcare workers are wearing. They can make the face shields. So it's been really rewarding during this time. But yeah, that's not long-term for me, man, at all. Like I sometimes, back when we were actually in the office, I would walk by these retirement parties, and I'd say, you know, congratulations, Ken, 43 years at 3M, and I'm like, and I love that. Like, Ken, congratulations on the commitment and the loyalty. Big ups to Ken, because we need Kens in the world.
Ken,
Every Ken out there, thank you.
Yeah, thank you to
Ken.
the Kens.
Yes.
Thank you, Ken. I am not Ken.
Ooh, yeah.
Like, when I think about that, I get viscerally uncomfortable. Like, my stomach gets sick, and it's just not for me. Like, my time is I'm going to pour into this organization for as long as I need to and give them everything that I have. But there's a big gap in my profession right now, and you'd probably relate to this, Declan, because you're a unique skill set where you're an engineer who happens to be brilliant with people. And generally speaking, right, more people can analytical, logical thinkers. A lot of engineers are great with systems and processes and procedures. And my profession is a lot like that, where we have these brilliant scientists and engineers, but the only thing that we really protect are people. And naturally, we don't do great with people. And so I really feel that my mission, right, for the next probably 20 to 30 years of my life is to equip and empower health and safety professionals to make a greater and broader difference through engaging with the people that they protect versus just so much focusing on like the technical aspects of our profession. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I have a question about that because, like, with you mentioned like PCL, and I work for them as an engineer, and so I was getting ready to move to this new. I was getting like doing an interview for this next job that I got put on, and my boss had listened to one of the podcasts that Andrew and I recorded, and on that podcast I said, like, blatantly, like, construction industry is not where I want to end up. Like, I don't see myself in it long term. Like, I want to do this. I want to do podcast production. I want to be a comedian. I want to speak. Like, I have all these different things. And he listened to that. First question he asked me is, so, you know, I listened to the podcast and you said you didn't want to be in the construction industry. Like, what's your goal? And I was like, I just was honest with him, and I told him straight up, like, my goal is to run Backpocket full time at some point and down the road. But right now, like, I'm focused and loving and putting myself into engineering and PCL. So, like, and ever since that, it's been awesome. Like, he gives me shit about that all the time. He goes, "Oh, Declan's not going to be an engineer anymore," and all this stuff. And it's funny. But, like, do you have coworkers or people around you? I mean, you've worked there for 8 years, so you have a lot of people that probably know you. Do they know that you're not like gonna be Ken? Like, do they know where your heart's at?
Yeah, it's a good question. Not all of them. There's no question. Because I think I'm very selective with who I would share it with.
Okay.
Because there's some people, right, and those people are probably not watching this podcast, I would imagine. Let's just say that. Right?
Well, we can send it to them.
Some people, some people will keep that in the back of their mind, and so when it comes time for a promotion or it comes time for an opportunity where we can put you on a key project, they're like, well, are they really that committed to the company's mission? Well, yeah, I'm as committed as anybody else is. Because, you know, that's where you're at. You're going to contribute. You're going to give everything you can, 100%, right? All in. So I share it with the certain people, and the really, I'll say, incredible leaders that I'm able to work with every day, and they're fully supportive. Like, they love it. They go, yep, let's set you up right now so you can make a greater impact outside of just our organization. Mm-hmm. That's the intent behind it. Mm-hmm. I want to do everything I can for the 3M company itself. But also, there's millions of other people in our profession out there that could really benefit from the work that we're going to be doing.
Right. It goes back to like high school when you're a 3-sport athlete and you're doing all these sports to like develop your athletic prowess. The idea of all the resources now that you can do other things than just your quote unquote 5 to 9. Or 9 to 5, you have 5 to 9s open to do public speaking, to start a charity like Best Christmas Ever. Like, there are those resources out there, and that's only going to help funnel like all creative energy and any tactical skills for your job. So at 3M, you have the ability to bring back all the public speaking, all the stuff you did with BCE, and like that's where I'm at right now with Backpocket, and I have the ability to work my 9 to 5 for a digital marketing company, and then I get to go do my 5 to 9 with Backpocket, and it's just that creative energy. We talk about you talk about community, and then you talk about being able to dump your knowledge into something and pull it and use it in so many different aspects. It's very fulfilling.
Well, your 5 to 9 makes you more effective in your 9 to 5.
Yes.
I promise you, because you can release that creative energy or spirit or whatever it is that you need to in the 5 to 9, and then what does that allow you to do in the 9 to 5? What does it bring you?
Right. And for me personally, it allows me to lock into what I'm doing right now. I'm not thinking of the what if game, like, oh, I should be doing this, or I'm wasting my time and I need to be here. Like, I love what I'm doing right now, and I know that this time is valuable. And then when I have the time scheduled out, I can do my other thing that I also have already committed so much time to, that I know that time will be even more fulfilling. Yeah. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it totally makes sense. Mm-hmm. And you brought up something cool, Andrew, like the when you bring up Best Christmas Ever, and I just started thinking about how over a year ago we had you on talking about the story behind Best Christmas Ever and how you started it, and you and your buddy, and like the impact and everything that you've made. And that just like from that moment on, we really haven't stopped thinking about that. Like when we saw the first email about best Christmas ever for like the applying to be a captain and all that, like this whole journey has been.
I think it was around April.
It was around April, yeah.
Yeah.
And we had our donation page even set up, like, I think in August. Didn't touch it, but it was so awesome to like hear that whole story last year. And then Malia was even giving us like all these nice tips and tricks for like this year's. And I'll be honest, dude, we didn't follow a single rule, I don't think. I gotta be honest. We had a full podcast with the co-founder, and we didn't follow the rules. I just wanted to say, hands raised, we didn't follow the rules.
And we talked about this yesterday.
In the cold tub.
We
had to break you the news while we were shivering together.
Which is a super safe place to break what could be bad news.
Correct.
Right? Like,
yes,
there's
correct.
There's nothing that we could do. And remember what we talked about?
Yeah, 90%. Well, you should say it. It was 90-10, but your verbiage was amazing.
Yeah, I think this is life in general, right? Life is 90% intention, 10% mechanism. And so what was your intention with signing up to be a captain for Best Christmas Ever? What was your intention behind that?
We wanted to give back to our community, or we wanted to utilize our community and give back to the community.
Yeah. Yeah, and Declan, would you agree with that?
100%, yeah.
And so with that, right, you wanted to give back to your community. How committed were you to that this year?
Pretty damn committed.
That was the number one thing on our
goal.
list. When it came up, it was our number one thing on our list.
And so with that said, when you get crystal clear on what your intention is behind something, you figure out the mechanism. Like when you guys started Backpocket, I guarantee you didn't have a 27-step formula in a process and everything to get you from year 1 to year 5 and how to be successful year 5. I would imagine that. Is that correct?
That is
very
correct.
Yeah. But you guys wanted to start a podcast for some reason that was driving you. So there was some intention that was great enough for you guys to figure out the mechanism. And that's Best Christmas Ever. Like, we have found a playbook, per se, that works. Right? You send out an email, you let people know you're doing Best Christmas Ever, you get on the phone and you dial for dollars. Like, you're pretty much going to be successful if you do that. And there's probably 1,000 other ways that you can be successful in raising money and then delivering a Best Christmas Ever drop that's going to change a family's trajectory and change their lives for who knows how many years and generations. And what I think worked for you and what works for you guys in everything you do is you're always clear on your intention. And then you go, well, we're going to figure things out, right? We're going to figure it out from there. Like,
that's the most fun part for us, is figuring it out.
Figuring out's like the thrill.
Yeah.
Like, there's the thrill of it. And the uncertainty, I think, is also probably a thrill for you guys as well. Mm-hmm. Like, we're going to sign up for this, and we don't know what's going to happen. Have you guys heard of it with JFK, what he used to do when he was a kid with his favorite Boston Red Sox cap?
No.
So JFK was his most prized possession as a kid. He had a Boston Red Sox ball cap that his dad gave to him. And anytime he was walking along a backcountry road and there was a fence or a gate, and behind it he wanted to see what was behind it, but he was scared to do it, he'd take his hat off and he'd throw his hat over the fence. Because he'd do anything, You do anything to go get his hat. So you go, oh, here we go, right? Boom. Intention is clear. I want to see what's on the other side of the fence. The mechanism is I got to throw my hat over because I'm scared to death of climbing and potentially falling and seeing what's on the other side. And so what I see what works for captains with Best Christmas Ever is they raise their hand, they sign up, and then they go like this with their hat. And they go, I'm going to do whatever it takes because the family that we're going to impact is more important than me trying to figure out the perfect way to do this thing. Does that make sense?
Oh,
Yes.
so true. And what's so funny is like there is like legitimate there was actually a little bit of fear in when we really started, like when we threw the cap. Like when we put the page together, it was November, and I was like, dang, we got $5,000 to raise. Like I've never tried to raise money in my entire life. And, you know, with all the marketing things and like we went through a process, you know, threw it on our Instagram story, came up with creative ways to promote it with Andrew doing the Embrace North Ice bath for 30 minutes and like all these different things. And I was just like, how is this going to work? Like, are people just going to like see this and are like, just going to donate? I was so like, I had a lot of questions and I was nervous. And then once we started doing it, I was like, whoa, just shocked, appalled that of the generosity of others and how it just sold itself, And all we had to do was like, it was just the intention. And it was just amazing to see the impact. And I think one of my favorite stories is Andrew and I come up with this idea and of Andrew going in the ice bath with Luis, and we're going to raise all this money. We're going to do it for 30 minutes, and we're going to raise $1,000. Let's raise $1,000. Let's raise $1,000. We can do it in 30 minutes. And I'll let you take it from here, Andrew, but you DM Andrew.
Yeah, the morning of when I posted, I was like, I'm ready to. I'm tuning into my live stream at 1:00. I'm looking to raise $1,000 in 30 minutes. And within seconds after I posted that, you messaged me back and you said, Andrew, there's more to it than $1,000. It doesn't matter the dollar amount, but shoot for the stars, put something large there, and inspire the masses, and make a change. And if you fall on your face, so be it. It doesn't matter because that's never been the intention. Raising $10, raising $10,000 in that 30 minutes. That's not the intention. Show people that you want more from them and inspire them. So I was like, all right, let's do 5,000 because that's aggressive for me. That's like our original goal was $5,000
total.
Right, total.
Now we're trying to do it in 30 minutes.
Like just that switch alone. There was a lot of things that helped me get through that 31 minutes, but that switch alone was like pretty inspiring. I was like, Andrew, let's inspire the masses, and be special here.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think, man, what I love, and I think your response was just basically like a thumbs up with an exclamation mark. It's like what it was, like that's it.
Yeah.
And so you took a challenge and you took it heads on and then you ran with it, you know. It'd be really easy. And also it'd be really easy to say yes for like my approval. Like Jason said this would be a good idea, so yeah, we were going to do 5,000. Like that's a very different place to come from than hell yeah, we can do 5,000 because number one, I'd have to be bigger and I'd have to do more and come from more to go for 5,000, and we can inspire so many more people because raising $1,000 is, yeah, it's $1,000, but raising 5,000 in 30 minutes, like let's go.
Right.
That's what's gonna move people.
And I raised $600 in that 30 minutes. Like that was awesome. I'm super proud of it.
Yeah.
But then when after all the promotion was done, we raised $5,000 from that moment that we promoted what I was doing that day to right now. We're at just under $10,000, and we were at $5,000 before I got in that ice.
Come on.
So that overall intention paid off, and what was just really cool is all the other things that have fallen through since then. And I'm going to touch on that in a second, but I want to bounce back to before we even started Best Christmas Ever, promoting it on our page. Like Declan and I, like he mentioned, we have never really asked anything of our community monetarily. We've outside of like going to events, or we're not really here to make we don't make money, a lot of money from the Backpocket. We don't ask from our community to buy
don't ask
things.
much.
We love to provide value, give value, get value, and this was the first time that we like straight up were like, and obviously this is going towards a bigger cause, but we asked money from all walks of life on our podcast. And the amount of people, and I was telling you this just briefly when we were warming up to get in the ice the other day, the variety of people that came out and donated was really cool. I mean, over the last 4 years, we've built this thing, and to see all of the people we've touched and the variety of people that were supporting us. You talk about dialing for dollars. There was no need to dial. It was all the people we've touched over the last 4 years were just like, here's $10. Here's a couple dollars here and there. And
Actually, or like, let me start an event to raise money for you. It was like people were going lengths to just do it for us. It was nuts.
There was our good friend Mark Dowdle started $5 5K, and he got a 5K together, and everyone came and donated $5, but no one donated just $5. There was 12 of us, and we raised $150. So there was that things happened time and time again, and Declan and I are looking at each other in awe.
Like, WTF, dude? Like, how's this happening?
And so exactly. So answer that question. Why were you able to not have to get on the phone and make any direct requests? Why do you guys think that is?
I genuinely think it's because we spent 4 years getting to know everyone we touch. I personally, and I can confidently say Declan as well, I confidently want to know who the person is across from me, and I want to make sure they feel better when they leave our conversation or our eye contact alone. I walk into every room, and it's a downfall at times because I give, but I want everyone to feel better from my personal impact. And I think that is just snowball effect from college now to a few years removed from school, and being able to amplify it on this podcast where we just talk all the time.
That's totally
it's really cool.
It's just nuts because like you don't realize you do it. You don't like I'm just super super passionate about Backpocket, and I put my heart and soul into this thing every day. And we always talk about this idea of the mirror image mentality, where you're looking in a mirror and Backpocket is, at the end of the day, it's just Andrew and Declan. But like we always thought that for the longest time, but now it's like people just like buying in. People are just like buying into that idea of like it's not Andrew and Declan. When you think Backpocket, I don't want you to really think Andrew and Declan. I want you to look in the mirror and know that Backpocket's you. Like there's something in you that you can either give or like share or create. There's like so many that's what it was. And it, to me, I don't know, I don't understand why people believe in us so much still. I like, it's crazy. Like we you know what I'm talking about? Like, yeah. I don't understand. Sometimes I guess we get pretty good about like, we've gotten pretty good about like putting ourselves out there on like every platform. So I feel but I don't know, man. I just think it just is the genuine and authentic part that people connect with. Mm-hmm. That they know we're just two average guys. Yeah. And that they know we work really hard and love at this thing. And they just want to see us succeed just as much as Andrew was talking about, just as much as we want our listeners to succeed. Yeah. I think that was it.
I want to dig into that because I think a lot of people want to hear about your guys' experience with Best Christmas Ever. But I would say not so much your experience. I would say they want to hear about the impact that you guys made, because the drop was when?
This past Saturday. So it was December.
It was yesterday. In context.
In context, yeah. So it was December 19th.
December 19th. So, yesterday, as of today.
Correct. For the listeners, we're recording on Sunday, and and I don't know are we dropping this Tuesday?
No idea.
But yeah, we're recording this on Sunday the 20th.
Got it. So the drop was on the 19th.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay. And so tell me about that, because I know nothing about the drop. I don't know much about the family. I don't know about the drop. I don't know about, did they say, get the hell out of my house? Or did they say, this was the greatest day of my life?
Yeah.
So you guys just riffed on that a little bit.
Yeah, that was really interesting because I didn't know what to expect. The family didn't know we were coming. Our point of contact was his name was Remy, and he wasn't able to make it through certain circumstances, but we had this time stamp locked in for like 2 weeks, and we had a bunch of things, moving parts, where we needed to do it on noon on the 19th, because Declan's only home for so long. And you put all this time and energy in it, and you got all that angst of like delivering well. Like you want it to go smoothly. You don't want to scare the family. You want to make sure all moving parts, all stakeholders are valued. And I was super nervous going in. It was like event nervous, like where we hosted like a Bocella or doing our live show. Like that energy it was in the pit of my stomach, all the butterflies. And I thought it went swimmingly. Like we pulled up with a couple cars and all of our presents wrapped, and she lived in the duplex, and this family had seen some major traumatic events even over the last 3 months, where it's a family of 4. We've talked about this a few times. It's a family of 4 with 2 little ones, a 2-year-old and a 1-year-old, and they've lost brothers to murder. They've lost parents to cancer, and they've lost a child to miscarriage, and then financial struggles across the board with COVID-related issues. So we had all these things, and we're ready to deliver, and she lives in a duplex, and the front door was kind of unlocked to get into like the duplex area, so then you can go to the next set of stairs. We just knocked on the door, and she was there because Remy told us she would be home during this time, so that was good. And she answers, and Declan and I were like, okay, it's go time, like here we go. It's time to open our mouths and hold up our end of the spectrum.
This is great. Can I talk about this real quick?
Yeah, please.
So like there's so much build up, right? Like we have our filmer there. He's been filming us like packing the gifts in the car, and like we're pointing everywhere at which direction. Like there was one point where we all got in the middle, like we were getting ready to go play a football game, and I gave like an emotional speech, and then we broke down and just were like, best Christmas ever on 3, 1, 2, 3, and went for it.
Game day.
It was game day. I mean, we were to the nines, game day. And we pull up. I remember with Lauren and I, we pull up, and I just see this duplex, and it just like reminded me, totally like put the reset button back on it. Like this is a family in need. Holy cow. Like the apartment had like one whole section of it just like missing, and they had just a wood planked up against it. And it was like in a really tough area, and it just like, it made it from like the spectacle that we were kind of treating it like this big Friday Night Lights type delivery to a like meaningful, like it just like it like hit me right in my gut. I was like, oh, we gotta go, like this is it. And so like we're super, super nervous, and we finally get to knocking on the door, and we like hear her come to the door, and she opens it, and I don't think a word was like said for at least 10 seconds. Like, I was like looking at her, and she was looking at us. She's like, hello. And Andrew's like, hey, like we kind of like stumbled around like what the hell we were getting at.
Right. It was so
funny. We're like sitting there in our mask, and I'm like, she has no, and that was the other thing too, is like, I was expecting for some reason, like when you tell someone like, hey, we have a bunch of gifts for you, like you would expect them, for some reason I thought they would be like, yeah, like, and like start crying and like all these emotions everywhere. But it was like, and we have the gifts for you. And she's like, okay. Sounds good. What else? What's going on?
What's going on?
What's the context?
We tried to open up the context with saying we're with a charity, best Christmas ever, and over the last 6 weeks we've been fortunate enough to raise money for you. You were nominated and selected by this charity, and we've been partnered for your family. So we're providing you with the best Christmas ever. And it was like she was stunned.
She was shocked.
No words. She's in processing mode the whole time. Yeah. And we have a couple helping hands too. So there's like more people. There's people behind us. So it's a lot to take in. And it was just another Saturday for her, right? She was probably doing dishes or sitting on the couch putting her feet up from a long week of work. And then we walk in, and we're trying to fumble, like nervous energy, fumble through what's going on. It was beautiful, and and then slowly executed on like the next steps. But like that initial moment I'll never forget the look in her eyes. And I think what really struck a chord was, we brought in all these gifts, and
hold on. How about when? So then, like, we explained it to her, and then it was like, action time. Like we were like, so can we help move the gifts in? Like, may we come in the house? And she's like, yeah, sure. Just like, like a typical, like, what would you in your own house? Like, you have like a box of things here and she moved it over there. Like, they're like, she was like, yeah, let's make some space in this house. And we bombarded that thing. We had like 8 people with us. Wait, no. Six people with us.
Yeah.
And did she have a tree, a Christmas tree?
She
Yeah.
had a Christmas tree.
And so did you put everything around the Christmas tree?
Yeah.
Or what?
Yeah.
It was in the corner, but we filled that thing up real quick. So then it was on the dining room table.
We filled up like the entire house, like almost immediately.
Yeah.
And I think the coolest part was when it really hit her and what you were about to describe. So I'll let you describe that.
As everyone was bringing in presents, we explained how like this is a portion of the donation is going towards these presents. The rest of the money we wanted to make a life-changing impact, and we're going to help pay for your rent. So if you're behind on rent right now, or for the next few months, like we have the ability to pay for a quarter year's of rent for you. And I think that's like that hit another level. And we've been in contact with your landlord, so this is already squared away. You don't need to do anything. We're here to help you, type of thing. And she that's when it got a little teary eyed, and that's when I was like, I really wanted to give her a hug like the whole time. And I was like, can I give you a hug? And she said, yes, of course. And it was just that there was a lot of beauty to it, and it still really hasn't hit me fully. Like I still need to like sit down, reflect more on it, because it is such a life-changing moment for generations, like you mentioned. To me, I was picturing in my head the animated hoorah, like her like jumping and skipping, but it was so real, just like the simple emotions. And I bet you she's sitting right now thinking about like what's happening. She still hasn't processed as well. Yeah. Her kids were sleeping, and it was just it was kind of eerie to a sense, like it was, you could hear a pin drop type emotion.
And what? So I want to go back to that in a moment. But what was your guys' favorite gift? What was the one that for you just like, this is it? I can't wait to either she opens this or to tell her about this.
My personal favorite, I'm sure Andrew will have another one, was we bought them Wi-Fi for a whole year, and like it was kind of a weird way that we had to dance around it. So, and I also realized later after reading the FAQ on BCE that you're not supposed to pay for cable bills or cell phone bills, which I feel like Wi-Fi is pretty much that. So, but luckily Stephanie with BCE said that we can get that reimbursed, so no problems there. And anyway, I was telling Andrew this too. I was like, you know what? If we got this family free Wi-Fi and we don't get reimbursed for it, like that's for the birds, man. Like
that's Backpocket's donation.
That's Backpocket's donation. We're giving them the source of Wi-Fi.
Put it on the P&L, huh?
But the reason I liked that gift the most was like it's very specific, and it was very thoughtful too, because like they wanted a Fire Stick and they didn't have a TV, so we got them a TV. But I was like, what's the use of any of these things if you don't have internet? So I call Xfinity, and their jaw dropped. And I was like, can I get some Wi-Fi? And they're like, yeah. And they're like, did you ever do Wi-Fi as a gift? And they're like, we could probably do something like that. Like, what are you trying to do? I was like, well, we got this family, and I'm trying to pay for Wi-Fi for a year, and I want the best Wi-Fi. And they're like, yeah, I think we can do that. So anyways, I just put it all in my name, put our company card on it, put their address on it, and it sent them the box. And the box got there like 2 days before. Yeah, with my name. And Angel, the lady, she saw it in their hallway with their apartment number, but it wasn't her name, and she just like kept looking at it. She said every day she would go and she'd just look at it, and she would go and she'd just look at it, and then she's like finally like, well, I guess this is for me, and she just grabbed it and put it in her house, and then everything kind of connected at the end when I told her what it was for. But the effort to like go through. And once you get the Wi-Fi, they're like, okay, now you're $100 a month. And then they're like, so we'll bill you this time. I was like, can I just pay for it all for a year? Like, I was asking all these hard questions. And I think it took me about 40 minutes to actually like get this whole package secured, but it was worth it. I was like, I fought hard for this thing. I infiltrated the Xfinity Corporation and made it happen.
Yeah.
I was just like stoked for it. And now I'm organizing to like help them like actually set it up and all this stuff too. So I would say that would be my favorite.
Yeah. I think you did a really good job. So you got the Wi-Fi, and then you also got the diaper supply for a year.
I got him
For
a year's
a year?
worth.
A year,
Yeah,
but
it's a subscription. It's sick.
model.
How
So-
much is that worth?
700
Which was
That's what it takes for a year worth of diapers?
for one. Yeah, it was like
The
700,
service.
800. Yeah,
Yeah.
the service was 700. Yeah.
Wow.
right, but it was brilliant too because Declan and I were like, "Well, they have 1-year-olds and 2-year-olds," and we're like, "We need to go get them diapers." And I was like, "Yeah, it was probably like, maybe like a couple months because where are they going to put it all?" And Declan's like, "No, we got to get them a full year's," and I'm like, "They're not going to have any space in their house."
And a storage container for.
Yeah.
Just gonna-
This is how much Andrew and I are not dads. I was like, Andrew, let's get him diapers for a whole year. And Andrew goes, dude, isn't that like 50 grand? I'm like, I don't think so. I know it's expensive, but I don't know. And then
50 grand.
50
Yeah.
grand.
It's close.
Yeah,
It's close.
and then we like walk through. We're like, well, like they're not gonna be that happy if we show up with a year's worth of diapers. Like they probably don't have enough space in their house for that.
Right.
And I was like, well, there's got to be a subscription service to diapers.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the first thing I googled, and that was the first thing I found is like a perfect website that you can basically just ship them $1, and it has all the information for them to sign up for this subscription,
Right.
and they have it all comped for a year.
That's brilliant. So now you know when you guys do become dads, you're definitely doing diaper subscriptions.
Yeah,
It's a given.
It's a given. It's brilliant. You don't have to think about it. It's going to show up on your doorstep.
So that was your favorite gift?
That was one of them. I just loved going to like Target and Macy's. And I went with a couple other friends, that the Straight Canada girls and Lauren, who help our intern here at the Backpocket. We just walked into Target and we were able to get everything. That was one of the coolest feelings.
And so you shopped with the money that you raised, I would imagine.
Correct.
Oh yeah,
That's
that
how
is
we-
a clarifying thing.
Well, what Declan is saying when he said earlier that we did everything wrong, we didn't do anything like wrong,
Yeah.
but we didn't listen to the playbook. So
Whatsoever.
So the idea of like having you create your shopping list and then people buy you the gifts and send it to you and either could wrap them as well.
Yeah.
Like we didn't even know that was an option.
Yeah.
We just
Literally didn't know it existed.
didn't know it existed. So we just raised all the money and then we're like, all right, now it's time to go get all the things.
Yeah.
So we just went and bought them all. And that was super fun. Like we got a lot of it online with Amazon and ordering things, but then we went into Target and Macy's to get some clothing things and all the kids' toys at Target. It was a blast. That would like filling out like 3 shopping carts, knowing this is going towards your family is really cool.
Yeah.
Andrew, talk about the iPad thing that you got.
Oh, so
is
also
awesome.
like how it's very hard to shop for a 1-year-old. What do they do? I don't know.
I don't know.
That was the other thing
That was a
we were
big
talking
question.
about. We were like talking through. Well, Remy, our sponsor, was super helpful in the fact that like he just one day just sent us like a 3-page list of a bunch of gifts, and I was like, perfect. That's all we need. Time to move.
Yeah.
And but like before that, Andrew and I are like, what do 1 and 2-year-olds do?
Right.
Do they walk? Do they piss and shit? Like, what's going on? Like, I don't know what they do at all. Again, hands raised, not fathers.
So we're going through the Target trying to figure out like what's here that doesn't say 3+. You know, like I need to get something under the 3-year-old age range on the suggestions on the box. And I followed around a family that had like what looked to be like a 1-year-old in their hands, and I was seeing what they were grabbing. And no joke, this family went up to this one thing for their iPad, and it was like a game, and they sat there for 20, 30 seconds debating, like, is our kid old enough for this? Like, and I just remember hearing, like, this is going to make learning simpler or whatever. Like, it was like a learning game. So right when they grabbed it, put it in the cart and walked away, I just scurried over there, put that in my cart. I was like, perfect. I know what a 1-year-old wants. Research complete.
Classic.
Awesome.
What were you gonna say? I want to make 2 comments. Hopefully they're on track too. So, like your call to Xfinity, like just imagine. So this year, I think Best Christmas Ever had like 150 to 200 captains or something like that. Whatever
Wow.
the number would be.
And they're all raising, 5-10 grand. So that's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money, and it's a lot of people getting on the phone and talking to who knows whoever it would be at, who knows whatever organization it would be. But I think we fail a lot of the times to acknowledge the impact that one phone call can make. And let me unpack that a little bit. So you called Xfinity, and Xfinity had some idea that they were talking to some young guy, or at least he sounded young, and he wanted to purchase Wi-Fi for a family that was clearly having a tough year. And he wanted to do it for an entire year, which I'm guessing is not super common that someone buys a gift of Wi-Fi for a year
They were
for a
shocked.
family that they don't know.
The billing department like couldn't understand what I was trying to do. I was like, no, literally, let's pay it for the whole year. I don't care if we have a $1,200 credit on there. That's what I want.
And that's why part of the playbook at Best Christmas Ever is actually not to do that so much, because these organizations, they just don't get it. They're like, this doesn't make any sense. How do we do this in their book? And so my point, right, is not that clearly. My point is that I really see that the CEO at an Xfinity, for example, hears through the chain of command that there was this kid that called and he wanted to purchase, and the CEO hears this family story. And because of you taking 35 minutes out of your life, Deck, that the CEO goes, I kind of like the sounds of this, looks into Best Christmas Ever, and every family that BCE blesses for the rest of however, he goes, we're giving Wi-Fi for a lifetime to every family. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I'm getting way out into the clouds right now, but that stuff has happened multiple times at BCE because guys like you go, I'm going to make this happen right now. You following me?
Yes, and actually that makes me think about like if we'll probably talk about this later of like lessons learned, like what could we do better next year, and that's one thing that one kind of goal I want to set is like I hopped on the phone to call for Wi-Fi. I wonder if I hopped on the phone and called for like a deal, like if I could somehow get Xfinity's CEO or someone important and be like, hey, this is what I'm doing. And this is why I want to do it, and see if I can radiate messages out to big companies all over the country and do that. Like we were thinking with the free diapers for a year, like get Huggies on the line, dude. They would love to use that. They would love to try do something like that. Or we were talking, in the family description was like they are living in this place that's just is so brutal, and I was like, and they need a car too. I was like, do we know any car salesmen? Like, can we get a car salesman on the line to maybe donate a car? Like, and I was like, fuck, we know Chris Lindahl. Like, give him a house. What's going on? Hey, there's so much. Like, what's going on? We got to get this going. So that would be a goal for next year.
Yeah, I love that. And so I want to circle back to lessons learned in a moment here, for sure. You said something that is actually really profound. So there was a moment where you were sharing with her, trying to explain to the family's mother what you were doing, what Best Christmas Ever was, and who you were. Is that correct?
Yes.
And she was basically like stoic. Is that right?
Very stoic.
Trying to process it all. And this is actually, it's one of the greatest lessons I've learned in life, and I had to learn it through Best Christmas Ever. And this is actually where the 10% mechanism is very important. and you guys nailed it, okay? But the 10% mechanism, one of the pieces of the playbook is that when you're going on the drop, the most important part is to operate from commitment instead of expectation. What does that mean? So expectation is basically they're going to jump for joy. And when they don't, I'm going to consider myself to either have done something wrong or to have failed the family, or there's something wrong with either them or this situation. That's how we respond to expectations that are unfulfilled.
Right.
Like we want someone to go on a date with us. She says no, and we go, oh, I'm a piece of crap. Right? Or we make up just some ridiculous story, whatever it may be. And so one of the most important parts of BC is to operate from a commitment of no matter what their response or reaction is to our act of generosity, that we just continue to give and continue to love and continue to provide. And that's what you guys did. And in using that level of commitment in every aspect of your life has profound impact. And you guys will get it because I think you guys do operate from commitment instead of expectation. It's like getting in the ice bath. Like, I expect the ice bath to not be cold. Well, then you're screwed, right? Versus like, I'm going in for 5 minutes today, whatever it takes. Like, it's going to be cold, and you're going to find a way to get through it and to push through those 5 minutes. You following me on that?
Oh, yeah. And the commitment is just like when you're at the doorstep of the house and you're nervous and like things might not be going. Can you grab the camera, Andrew?
Yep.
When things might not be going as swimmingly, the best part is I compare that to the ice bath where like when we were going out there yesterday and you got to walk out on the ice and then you got to jump in. It's like when you take that first step off of the dock onto the ice, there's no going back. Like commit. I'm walking from here to there. I'm squatting. I'm putting my hands up and I'm staying there. Like you have to just it's such a fun muscle in your brain to exercise.
Yeah.
That commitment part. I don't know what it is, but it's just like you see fear and you go for it.
That's right, man. And it's not easy.
No.
It's never easy.
And it is a muscle, like you said. You got to work it. Otherwise, it gets very gets to atrophy very quickly if you don't work it.
Good word.
So I want to go to the lessons learned, because like this was year one, correct?
Yes.
Year one.
First year ever. You heard of Best Christmas Ever, and did you guys sign up right away, or what made you want to sign up initially?
I just remember we got an email saying like you've been recommended to join.
Was that it?
Yeah, right. It was like
Probably
you've been referred. You've been referred. And I think your name was
Yeah.
under there somewhere in that email.
It probably came directly from me, not
Yeah.
the organization.
I think so. And I think we just were like, oh, it's time. All right, we find it's the go.
I guess this is it.
It's April, best Christmas ever time. I don't know. I think we just pulled the trigger.
And so I love that. So you just pulled the trigger. Didn't know much about it at all.
Well, we knew.
You
we
told
knew
us
about
from the
yeah,
podcast.
You told us from
You
the
told us
podcast.
about it.
So you had an idea.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
We were committed the second we asked you to come on the podcast.
Okay, great. All right, so you're all in.
We were all
You're all into this thing.
Yeah, we were just waiting for the email.
You went. Okay. You went through the process. And clearly the process was impactful on you guys. There's no question. You guys have been vibrating ever since for days, right?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
And with that, there's obviously some challenges and some struggles that you guys had to overcome. There were some obstacles. Like if you want to touch on those obstacles and then touch on lessons learned from start to finish from the process. If you guys could wrap on that for a little bit, I'd be fascinated by it. And I think the listeners could take a lot away from it too.
Mm-hmm. The number one thing that comes to my mind is so the intention of the Best Christmas Ever, or an aspect of it, is it's a surprise for the family. You get to show up at their doorstep and completely surprise them. So the most important person is that communicator from you to in between you and the family. What hurt this year, and I don't know how it works on a non-COVID related year, but being able to have like a physical, like face-to-face conversation with him to feel what's going on with that family and maybe pull other, like to sit down and like pool other ideas in person. I think there's just another level we could have tapped into of understanding what this family's going on, what's going on with this family. If we were able to see the family, like that
totally,
or it's not see the family, see Remy, or even like I think we made a mistake. We should have driven to the house and just like earlier
scoped out what the house looked like before we put everything together.
No, just you know how like Coach Crusoe always jokingly would go down to our opponent's field that we've never been to, and he'd film it. And then he'd show us what we're about to play on
for visualizing.
Yeah. Like that, if we would have just had an expectation of seeing like this is where this family lives, like let's recognize this environment, let's recognize this neighborhood, and realize what we're doing. Even for like that could have helped even more because you had that moment. We had that moment when we pulled up to the house. It hit us in the gut. What if we were able to have that moment 3 weeks before that and realize, okay, let's step on the throttle. Like we know we're making a life-changing impact, but and now we recognize it because we see it. Yeah, type of thing.
And I'm the content guy, so I'm like, they need to see the house. We need to show them, not giving away the address, obviously, but we need to show them where they live. We need help, that kind of thing too. Also, I would say this we could definitely improve on this, but like pick our just get the list from the family as that needs to be action item number one. Like, hi, we're Andrew and Declan with Backpocket. And we're going to be sponsoring the family you proposed. What do they want? Like, we want to get the biggest gifts right away, and sometimes it might take long. Just like get that out on the table right away because the first call that I had with him, I just explained the thing to him, but then I was like, I guess he didn't really know what they wanted yet. He had to like kind of think it through himself. He wasn't really prepared either. So I gave him about 4 or 5 days to think it through, and then he sent us a list and we went for it. But definitely the most stressful part was like ordering all the gifts and making sure like they came on time and stuff. So if I just gave myself one,
we're still waiting on a couple gifts that we're going to have to go back to the house.
Yeah. We got him a Jeep Wrangler drivable toy car, and we're setting up the Jeep Wrangler,
the day of,
and
the wheels weren't in the box,
and they didn't have the wheels,
so we had to order more wheels, and we're putting together the car to give them. Yeah. Right?
God.
It was shocking. I was like,
That is shocking. It's hard
what
to
the
have
fuck?
it's hard to
How
have a
these
Jeep without the tires.
Without the tires.
That's tough.
Other lessons learned. I thought like one of the most fulfilling parts on my end was bringing this community together. Backpocket. We did the ice challenge, which I thought was like great timing. It wasn't like the initial launch of fundraising for us. We had like 3-ish weeks of like talking about what we're doing. We talked about it on the podcast. We talked about it on all of our social medias and made sure to like hit home the meaning and the intention. And then so I just so happened to get in water to bring more awareness to it. It wasn't like, oh, look at me type of thing. It was just another way to just rally the community together. There's more opportunities like that with our community, and I think that's a central piece of this podcast alone is bringing your place to the table, bringing what you have to the table for your community. Mark Dowdle, I mentioned, he did a $5 5K, which was really cool. Our intern Lauren got her DSP business fraternity at St. Thomas together, and they did a virtual yoga event, and they all donated and raised a couple $100. Like those 3 instances alone of the community coming together, that's what's powerful, because
generate a lot of hype too.
Generate a lot of hype and a lot of more just touch points.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, we're trying to grow Backpocket, and this is an avenue to show the intention of what we're doing behind Backpocket. So if we can, do more of that, multiply that little piece, I think regardless if it raises more money, it brings Backpocket full circle more frequently.
Yeah. Yeah, and so what did you learn either about yourselves or about people? And the reason I ask that is I really believe that I think Best Christmas Ever is one of the greatest leadership development programs on the planet. Because you, Declan, never had raised $1 in your life is what you had said. My words, paraphrased, right? But basically what you said. And you now raised, what, 10K or something?
We will get to 10K. We're like $600 away.
Yeah, there you get to 10K. So you have to be a different human being to go from never raised $1 in your life to having raised $10,000 and having done so in 30 or 60 days or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So you a lot of the times we don't see it at the time, but there's so much growth that's happening because you're having to show up in so many different ways and work muscles you've never worked before. Andrew, I guarantee you have a similar example that you just haven't shared yet, right? So what I'm curious is what you guys learned either about yourselves in this process or maybe what you learned about your community at the Backpocket or just people in general. I'm really curious about that.
Well, I said earlier, and I'll say it again, people are just overly generous, and they want to do that thing, but like they want to give. And I think that was one thing I just never really understood. I was like, I didn't realize like if you put a donation page out, like people will donate. I was like something I just didn't think as positively as I normally would. The thing I learned the most about myself is I am very tactical on how I help people amplify. Like I helped raise the money entirely from Arizona out of my RV. Andrew and I had and we did it together, but I wasn't there, and I felt a little remorse. And I talked about this on a podcast maybe a couple podcasts ago with Andrew. We're like, I wanted to be there in the ice too, but we talked on the phone and we came up with that idea, and then you went and executed it. I talked with intern Lauren, and we have our conversations of like how we should be promoting this thing and how often and all that stuff. And I'm doing that with Lauren. I'm doing that with Andrew. I'm doing that with the Straight Candid podcast, and I'm doing that like on my own as well. And I was able to like categorize and communicate effectively to help people amplify. And I was like, dang, this is sweet. We can do this for all kinds of stuff now. Just like we did with Bocella earlier this year, we did it on an even crazier scale with Best Christmas Ever. So it just gave me this like super, this awesome dose of confidence and like, oh man, I'm like a little boss, but I'm not a boss at all.
Yeah. Oh man, I loved every second of the last 30 days. I've been like you already mentioned. I've been fortunate enough to be in this position many times to raise money for charities. In high school, one of our good family friends who played football, his sister passed away in like in middle school, and they started a charity for Shriners Hospital, and every year we would fundraise money for that. And I was consistently, like, not to brag, but I was consistently a leading fundraiser. And then go to college. We raised money for St. Jude's every year. I was the number one fundraiser.
Dude, you raised like 60 grand, right?
The team did.
Oh, right.
I raised like 3.
Right, but that like
right.
you were the lead. It was like Andrew and Sarah, number one every year. I was like, dude, this kid's got.
Yeah, and
the
then
Italians know what they're doing.
it's family. It's family. I'm not kidding. A lot of donations come from family. I was fortunate to go down to Memphis, Memphis to St. Jude's and tour the facility, and a couple other players on our football team, and see firsthand what was going on there. So this was like the first time I got to bring all of this knowledge that I've grown up on and do it for our company. So I was like very energized, and I was like, what can I do to make this happen? I mean, the number one thing is you go to Johnny you go to Pops, and you let him know what's happening. And like the Italians know, or like Declan just mentioned about the Italians, we're here, we're givers. And my dad put out a little bit of an email blast to kind of get the ball rolling inside the family. And I reached out to people variously, and that aspect came in like beautifully. Like consistently, they're always here for me, my family. But then to see, like I mentioned already on this podcast, the amount of people like Declan and I have chosen to impact who reached out, that was really cool. I mean, it was really beautiful, because over the last 4 years, through playing football, through podcasting, through being inside the Twin Cities, a place that Declan and I had no business being in 6 years ago, just came up here to play football for Glenn Caruso. And now we've stayed here. Declan has left already, but I'm still here, and Backpocket is still here. All the people here in the Twin Cities, and then to reach out and to support and show these kind gestures time and time again. It was powerful.
Mm-hmm. And what's the impact that you guys hope Best Christmas Ever made on this particular family? What's the mom's name?
Angel.
So, you guys said that, Angel. So what's the impact that you guys hope that you had on Angel?
Initially, a sense of relief, like a big old deep breath. She did mention while we were there, saying she had spent the majority, like the savings she had on their birthday that was recently, so she wasn't able to get them more than a couple Christmas gifts. So you could see like that was like her initial thought. She's like, oh my God, my kids are going to have presents for Christmas.
Yeah.
That's what she thought right away.
That's when she got teary too, because like it was so sad, man. We go into that, we go into the house with all these presents, and she explains this to Andrew about their birthdays being at the beginning of December, and she has no money. And she's like, all I could get them was these 3 gifts under the tree. And they're like these small little packaged gifts under the tree. And it was like, we did it. We are doing it. Like we help them satisfy a need and make an impact in like the
short term.
In the
like
short term.
That was the quick one. That was something
Yeah.
that that's her sense of relief. And then as time goes on and she's processing, I hope that what we did and what Best Christmas was able to empower them to do is restart or set them on a new path where they can they can choose that outcome in a positive way. They now have a little bit of stability, a little bit of comfort in an area that they probably haven't had maybe in a long time or ever. So hopefully what we were able to is empower them to make their own choice on what happens next in a great way.
Yeah. And this is what always gets me is when I start to think about the impact on the kids. And how many kids does she have again?
2.
She had 2. What were the ages?
1-year-old and 2-year-old.
Yep.
1 and 2. Okay, got it. So, what do you want the impact to be on the kids? And I know it's tough with the 1 and the 2-year-old, and they probably have no idea what's actually happening.
Yeah.
But their subconscious is obviously absorbing everything, right, like a sponge.
Mm-hmm.
And so what do you want the impact to be on the kids when they wake up, because they were napping? They wake up and they come out, and all of a sudden their entire house just looked like Santa, and like 75 of his elves just came. What do you want your impact to be on the kids?
Yeah. And I think this goes to Andrew and I were talking about how these kids probably won't remember it, but I want them to be told about it. And I want this to be something where, like, this mom, we just gave her breathing room and financial stability probably for the first time in a while, it sounds like. And we gave them basically like this cheat code that allowed them what I hope is that they take advantage of whatever opportunities come their way with this this breath of fresh air that we gave them for these 4 or 5 months that we paid for the rent. Yeah. Like, I hope that they could be in their own new house one day when the kids are asking around Christmas, what are we getting for Christmas? What are we getting for Christmas or whatever? And they're in a different level where they can look back and say, we were in a dark spot and these random people showed up and made an impact and it changed the course of our family. Like, I hope that we're just the small blip on the radar. I don't want to need to be known by name. I don't need to be known. I just want to be remembered from the action.
Yeah, man, it's so good. You have anything to add?
I'd add, like, for the next 30-ish days or however long, this energy is around them, that there's family and other things happening in that house that haven't happened before, where it's like smiles and just positivity, where like a brother's coming in to see what just happened, or an uncle's coming in to say congratulations and like give a big hug and the kids are sitting there and they're seeing smiles and positive energy. I don't know if that was the case prior. As you've heard, there was traumatic events, so there's a lot of negative aura going on. Mm-hmm. So I'm hoping that there's like just this energy that these kids can feed off of, and like that goes into development stages. My small brain thinks like positive energy and smiles, like that's only going to help these kids grow up to be a little bit, more positive outlook on life.
Yeah, man, and that's not a small brain thinking at all.
Yeah.
Like, that's actually pretty profound.
Yeah.
Of when you shift the energy of a space, you're shifting the experiences of the human beings within that space. Mm-hmm. And these kids are not going to be able to explain it for the next probably few years or so, but there was a different energy this Christmas than they've experienced for all of 2020. And that will get in their DNA somehow,
right,
even if we can't explain it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So actually what you just said is pretty profound. It's not small brain thinking at all.
My interpretation is small brain.
He's walking through it slowly.
And I think, Deck, you hit something, man. It's I like to think of because I'm a visual guy, so I like to think of, there's a crack for this window, or excuse me, there's a small crack for this family right now, and they have the opportunity to basically make the decision or choice to drive a truck through that small crack and open it up for the rest of their life. Okay? And what do I mean by that? So if you look at the longer sustaining programs that BCE sets these families up with, now this family has this crack, and it's a crack of possibility and opportunity, but it closes very quickly if they don't do something with it. In other words, we get back into our old patterns and rhythms and things like that. And now Angel has an opportunity to take it'd be virtual this year, to take a virtual financial education course and then get paid $1,000 on the back end of that. You guys aware of this?
No.
This is very important. Okay. This is very important. This is the mechanism. This is where the 10% is important.
Okay.
Right? And so
we're listening.
It's a big deal. It takes this crack, and now she opens it up, and it becomes a giant crevice for all the right reasons. Mm. So she goes, oh, wow, like, she's optimistic. She's full of energy. She's feeling empowered and encouraged. And now we set her up with an online virtual financial education course. And then when she finishes that, BCE writes her another $1,000 check that she can only use to pay off her debt. So now what we're doing is we're educating and we're reinforcing good habits. If you pay off debt, typically if you're in a tough time, that's a really good thing to do. Following me?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
The other piece is, and I don't know if this is still this particular vehicle, because as I mentioned before, I've stepped away as chairman of the board at Best Christmas Ever, right? And to take a little breather to focus on my marriage and speaking. So I don't know if this is the vehicle, but it's still very similar to this. If Angel also completes a health and wellness education type course online again this year, previously she would get a $1,000 gift card to purchase groceries for her family from a Target or a Cub Foods or whatever it might be. All right, so you guys make sure you check with Stephanie on both of those, because those are two of the most profound programs that differentiates BCE from some other organizations that do a lot of really good in the community, but then they kind of just leave people with, well, where do I go from here? Well, we've created a path of, if you follow this path that we've created for you, really good things happen, and then that little crack becomes a crevice for all the right reasons.
Yes.
You guys following me?
Yes.
100%.
On that?
100%. Yeah, I just hope like it's a domino effect, like, and I hope we were like the force to kind of knock the first domino. And so like a good example would be like, okay, we gave them rent for 4 or 5 months. Will that free them up to now get a car? And then once they have the car, then they can drive to work and they can go do all these different things. And then maybe they meet someone at work, and then that's the next thing. And I just hope that, you know, Angel seems like an awesome person. She seems like she's kicking ass as a mom. So like I pray and pray and pray. I hope like that energy can be transferred to the next thing, to the next thing, to the next.
Yeah.
Do you ever have a recommendation on follow-up from our end of like communication and our presence? Is like how do you recommend we go about that? I know that's like there's a million ways to do it, but I was just curious if you have any recommendations.
Yeah. Oh, I'll give you kind of like the minimum criteria, and then I'll give you what some people will do, and then you guys choose whatever works for you and the family. Minimum would be previously a follow-up person in meeting to discuss all of the process steps of the financial education and the health education course and things like that. You could do that virtually with her if she's comfortable with it. You could do it in person as well. Plus, you guys got to go back there anyway and deliver the tires for the
truck.
Or Jeep Wrangler. We
Jeep
have an
Wrangler.
iPad too, I think, that we're giving her to as well, and a DSW gift card. I mean,
Yep, that's all the 3 things you need to get here.
So you got some cool stuff still to deliver.
Yes.
Right. So go back, spend an hour with her or whatever, get to know her a little bit better, but then walk her through the tangible steps of kind of what's next for her, how to set her up for success long term. If you take a look at what you could do and not necessary at all, right? She may not need this level of support, but we've had captains that'll stay so close to the family, where we had a captain where they blessed a family with 8 kids, single dad, mom had just passed away of cancer, and still to this day, this was 4 years ago now, this captain hand delivers birthday gifts to all 8 kids on every single one of their birthdays every year for 4 years straight. So it's like, minimum is we want to make sure Angel and her family are taken care of, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you want to do above and beyond that, it's totally up to you.
Gotcha.
There's no expectation at all. It's up to whatever works for you and Angel.
right on. Well, sweet,
Yeah.
easy.
Cool. I was just curious. I mean, we were going to follow up, but I didn't know if it was like that fear of like them being standoffish. They like now want their own space type of thing, and that's what they will communicate on their end. But on our end, we should do our part to make sure we keep that little flame lit.
Yeah.
Mhm.
100%. But yeah, dude, it was such a fun experience. Like I love the marketing behind what we do at Backpocket and just all the different things. Andrew and I always talk, like, I feel like a lot of what we do shocks people sometimes. And it's because Andrew and I live so presently that like we just focus on our next perfect brick to lay in a foundation, or our next best step forward. And a lot of times when you do that, and then you have a second to reflect, such as like December at the end of the year, like I feel like we shock people. Like we came out of the Worldworks with this BCE thing 6 weeks ago, and now we're at 10 grand, and people are like, "Whoa, these guys really effing did it," you know? And I just like loved the genuine hype around the whole thing. Like the fact that like we said we got to do this, and like people loved it. Like they just latched on. It was just another thing that we did. It was awesome.
We took our Knucklehead brand awareness from Boatchella, and we're able to pour it into something special like Best Christmas Ever. We talked about that on the podcast the other day.
What I'm sure you guys have already given your community a shout out multiple times, but what message do you guys want to send your community specific to BC and what you as a collective were able to make happen this year?
Lauren asked us a question on our podcast earlier today that we recorded. She asked us like over the last 4 years, like what's one thing that surprised you about Backpocket, or that you've learned about yourself about Backpocket? And this Best Christmas Ever commitment over the last 6 weeks has continued to shown that when Declan and I put the intention first and use that commitment level that we've been trained on, we can accomplish anything. We really can accomplish anything. And this thing that we've committed to is far bigger than us, and it's been more fulfilling than anything we've done.
100%. And then that's what I would say to like our community is we did something really cool. it's time to do something cooler and do it again. Right? It doesn't stop here. It only starts. We got to test ourselves and got to be a part of something special. Logic says, let's do it again and let's do it better. And I just want to get people excited for that. Like they know every year now, BCE is going to be firing on all cylinders at the Backpocket Corp. But they also need to know, like, there's going to be new and newer opportunities that will arise that will be a treat and that will continue to shock.
Yeah. So, two things to that point. So, and this is data from last year because I was watching from afar this year, but we received about 2,000 family nominations last year, and we were able to get to, let's say, 150 of those 2,000 families.
No way. Wow.
So, that said, right, what would you guys say to the person out there right now who they're like, I would love to get involved,
Yes.
but I can't. Yes, good answer.
No,
Right?
no. This yes, and I'm happy you're going down this path because I wanted yes.
And like, I have to raise $5,000, and I have to like be the CEO of a business for like a month or two. Like, I can't do that. So, what would you say to those people that are like, I want to help, but I don't know how, or I can't help because it's just too much?
And I don't know exactly what I would say to them because we are fortunate to have this thing that we call Backpocket to rally behind. But the intention of bringing another person or a few other people along with us to start their own Best Christmas Ever pages, I think that's another impact that we can extend. And that's something that, I mean, you're a co-founder, so it makes sense that you've done it time and time again. But you challenging us to do this was beautiful, and that's like what pushed us to be able to feel fulfilled at the end of 2020. So I think that's a goal of ours is at the turn of the calendar is to find a group of people or one person that can join this Best Christmas Ever Foundation, and like then we have our own little like back pocket like touch points of people that are also raising money for families.
Correct. Yeah. I like the I think I think what you said on the last podcast, like if it pulls at your heart, then don't think twice about it and go for it. Like hands raised, if you've listened to this far in the podcast, like it's a lot of work. I mean, there's a lot of different moving parts, but it's 100% worth it. It's 100% fulfilling. And as long as you have a voice and you have intention, you can do it. And if you have any doubts in yourself, those doubts will be removed by the people who donate and the people who help. That removed all the doubt in my mind. Because I had never done it before. I never raised money. But then the second that I sent it to someone, let's just simply texted it to him and explained what it was, and 10 minutes later, I see it in the donation page. That was like an amazing feeling of like gratitude. I just like was so thankful. And then and on the flip side of it, that was the energy and the validation that I needed to do it again and again and again. So like now that we have like this I shouldn't say expectation, but now that we've done it and we have an idea of how to execute because we've done it before, now it's like, all I'm trying to do is like do that better now. Like just blow it up out of proportion. Like let's just set a fun goal like way out there next time and really go for it.
So you can touch on a couple other you can do multiple. You can raise money for multiple families.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, that's next.
That's next
level. Like,
right. I don't know if we're there yet, but
you guys could handle it for sure.
We could handle it.
It's a lot. Just know the mechanism becomes a little more important at that point.
Sure.
It's like now you're CEO of two businesses.
Sure.
Or you're CEO, and then it's a lot.
Yeah.
And could you guys do it? Absolutely.
Yeah.
I would focus on crushing it for one family next year. $25,000. That's the goal. One family. And their life is, again, forever changed. You following me?
Yes.
If you want to do two, though.
Biggest improvement from 1 to 2. Biggest improvement we've always seen is from doing things from the first time to the second time.
Oh,
always your biggest improvement and jump. Like,
like
2 to 3 is great and all, but you already know where your flaws were, and you can do it way better your second time.
Oh, that's good.
So I like staying, and this is what we did for a couple other things that really helped, but staying true to what we did this time and just doing that better is the method.
Yeah, like I'm trying to think, like, do we like if we're gonna go 25K next year, like are we gonna should we do what they want us to do with like the people buying the gifts and delivering it to us?
We'll talk about that off air.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Who knows?
That's where did you get that? I've never heard that. The biggest improvement is from 1 to 2.
Yeah.
Is that just something you guys have always believed and you've learned?
That's a
through-
Coach Crusoe.
It's a Coach Crusoe culture thing.
Really?
Everything you hear from is it's embedded in Crusoeisms.
Yep.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I'm just thinking about because a lot of the times when captains get done delivering a best Christmas ever, it's a lot because they've just poured themselves into this for like the last month or 2 or 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, oh, I just need a break. And I'm just thinking about this like, man, like that's the move is to get people to understand that, yeah, this year was tough and it was a lot, but look at the impact you made. And there's no question that the greatest improvement happens from year 1 to 2. So imagine what next year's going to look like.
Right.
I've never even considered that, man, because to have captains come back for a second year, then knowing that you guys know, what worked and what didn't work this year. And so no wonder there's going to be incredible improvement for next year. It just has my wheels spinning a little bit.
Yeah.
I love it.
Mm-hmm.
It's freaking awesome. Yeah, that's definitely just like a fun Carusoism.
That we overuse a ton.
We always overuse it.
Yeah.
It's great.
That's brilliant.
But I think like Brogan talked about this on when he came on our podcast, and it's this idea of I can't wait to see what happens next when you're watching a movie and there's all these different things going on and the movie ends or the scene cuts and you are left with this feeling in your heart like what happened? What's going to happen next? Going through BCE and sitting in this chair being one day after the drop, that's where I am 100% right now. I just can't wait to see what happens next. And that's like the best part about Backpocket is like there's this confidently this year we have started so many different things or have done something for the second time like Bocella or something. We've done so many things this year where I just can't wait to see what happens next. Like we are getting ready to go to Mars 1,000,000%. And it's like the coolest thing. We got the production side of things. We got this BCE charity thing where it just like gave us this validation of our community and then like the events and everything to come from that. And I'm just like, dude, this is going to be nuts. Like I'm so excited.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys, I mean, you're on
giddy.
you're on the rocket ship right now.
Yep.
And you should be giddy to see how well your guys' community jumped on board with this. Like, of course, that's validation. I'm looking at it, and we talked about this before. Like, you guys have been pouring into them for 4 straight years. Like, of course they want to help. And, Deck, I think you said this, man, but if we can operate from just a mindset and a belief that innately human beings are generous, imagine what the difference in our experience of life would be from that. Versus, like, man, people are stingy. Or, like, man, people are cheap. Well, yeah, your experience of life is probably going to be stingy and cheap versus just walking around on the planet and being like, human beings are the most generous creatures on the planet. Like, you're going to show up and just, I don't know, man. So, I don't know, I'm rambling a little bit, but.
There's a lot of value in being optimistic. And that's a thing that
Well said.
we've circled on definitely over the last 4 weeks because Declan and I have recorded more individual podcasts between the two of us, and it's a conversation where we're sharing with the community what's going on with Best Christmas Ever. We're sharing with the community what's happening in our lives since Declan's in Arizona now and I'm here, and and then you just throw in what's going on with 2020 and all of the different things that no one expected. That's always been our ride or die, is being overly optimistic. Sometimes people look at us and give us the finger because we are smiling ear to ear when we are in the most sense of fear.
Yeah, when there's a city on fire behind us and we're just still like, hey, how's it going?
Right. But being optimistic goes a long way, and you can touch more people that way, or you can make a longer impact than having being on the other end of that.
Yeah, man. That's good.
It's freaking nuts. It's freaking nuts. I gotta ask you too. I know we touched on the ice baths earlier, and I'm just curious, like as a friend and seeing kind of your journey this year doing it. So we were talking about this actually. Isn't it crazy that we started doing the whole jump in the water, embrace North thing this year?
Mm-hmm.
Like that. We're in season 2 already this year because it already all the ice melted and now it's back. But like, isn't that nuts Isn't it like absolutely nuts that that was something we started this year and just like blew out of proportion? Talk about community. Like, it was you, Luis, and I think 2 other people the first time. The second time, Andrew joined. Did I join with you?
Yeah, us and a couple other guys.
Me, you,
Yeah.
and like Yoakum came and did it with you the second time. And then by the time we were done with it and the ice was melted, we had like 90 people, right? You said like 90?
Yeah. The ice hole was not big enough. We had to do shifts. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
There was only so many people in because we were shoulder to shoulder. And it's crazy to think. I was looking at some of the timestamps on some of the photos, and it was like February, and then the weekend before. So it must have been like March 8th, 9th, or 10th, whatever that Sunday was, whenever that was, before everything locked down. That's when it just exploded. And it was when we had all those pictures, and you had like Brogan was the middle, like, because he's a big tall guy, so you can just see him standing out. And I think he had the sunblock on, covering his nose, which is hilarious. So anyway,
we agree that Declan is a younger version of Brogan.
There's no question.
No question.
Yeah, no question. Yeah. This is just setting a high standard. You get Brogan, man. He sets a high bar.
He does set a high bar.
It was so funny.
And
man.
you're a young Brogan, for sure.
Yeah.
No question. But it's just a good point, and I want to circle back to the community piece. Like, who in the right mind goes in the middle of a lake in the middle of February, we'll just say, in Minnesota, and goes, hell yeah, I'm going to work out, and then I'm going to jump in 33-degree water for somewhere between 3 and 30 minutes. Like, it's not that they want that. Like, they're not coming for the workout, I promise you. And they sure as hell are not coming so they can freeze their whatever it is off in the ice. They're coming because it's a deep sense of belonging that every human being on the planet is looking for, and we just happen to find it through things like that. And I share this all the time, man. You guys would totally get this. Relationships are created through 3 things. This is it: time, intensity, and shared experiences. So the 3 of us could get to know each other pretty well over the next 3 years if we hung out once a quarter and we went to the bar and had some drinks. Or, right, the 3 of us could go and work out on a lake and then jump in the ice and do that about once a week for 6 weeks. That's the intensity piece. So time takes a long-ass time to get to really know people. Unless you choose to have intense, number 3, shared experiences. If you can have time, intensity, and shared experiences with people, you create deep, meaningful bonds that will be with you for the rest of your life. That's why things like Best Christmas Ever work. That's why the Backpocket works and everything you guys create for your community. And that's why jumping in a lake when it's 33 degrees and you're sitting in there for 20 minutes works. Because it's time, intensity, and shared experiences with people you care about.
Damn. That's it. That's the bee's knees.
Yeah, that fires me up because everyone in that community, I feel like I and some of them I've only seen in that ice water, but I genuinely know who that person is. Not from like I know everything about them, but like I see that look in their eyes when they're about to get in the water and that first minute while they're in the water, and then how they're handling themselves after. Like, it's the coolest thing, and like I feel closer to that person. Like the Krugers, I barely know them. But I genuinely know, I like when she got in the water with us and just kicked ass. Like I feel like I know that woman now. Yeah. And
That's
right,
so true. Like Brogan too. Like
Brogan.
we met Brogan for the
That
first
one
time
time.
that one day, and then we became like best friends with the dude.
Right. It's just really cool.
So funny.
That ice water, man. There is something in there that just I can't explain. People are like, you're an idiot. You're an idiot. Getting in there, you're an idiot.
Don't you wish we could explain it better?
I wish.
I feel like that if we could, more people would come, but I think that might ruin it too.
Yes.
If we could just tell people like this is why it's so amazing, I think it might ruin their experience because then they wouldn't have to show up and actually experience it themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Don't you feel like though? Don't you feel like the reason why it works so well is because like we're doing something and it's like so shocking and eye grabbing and like so opposite of what you normally should do, what you think you normally should do as a human, that like it elicits a fight or flight reaction to the person viewing it right away. How many freaking DMs and emails and texts and human interactions where people are like, dude, what's that ice thing? Can I come? It's like, I don't need to explain it to anybody. I just do it. And like people just want to come. That's why it's like Embrace North, BCE, and Bochella. Those are 3 things that we do. And we tell people that we do, and you never have to explain it. We never have to explain it. It's the coolest thing. we have to explain Backpocket. It's a mess of a mission statement, right? We're a podcast production company, but there's like so much to it. Whereas like Boatella, everyone's like, oh, it's a boat party. You know, it's a Coachella themed boat party. I want to go. Tickets, buy. Oh, I'm helping a family out in around Christmas time. Easy, buy. I like these guys. Oh, I'm showing up to jump in water. Sell, buy. It's like, whoa, like this is nuts. Like, but like especially with the Embrace North thing, man, like it doesn't get any easier. It stinks every time. It's so hard. And that's why I wanted to ask you is like, you were doing it like every day for a while. Mm-hmm. Can you like walk me through like your Tuesday morning? Like when it was like just a random, like I use Tuesday as like just a placeholder, but like the average random day that you wake up, there's not that motivation or intensity like a Sunday. We're not all getting in the water singing the chants. Yeah. Like how did you like do that, man? Like personally, I would never want to do something like that, even though
except for, let's make sure to reference the point that I think challenged you, or you challenged us, and then it ended up with you at 5 a.m. at Cedar Lake in the middle of March when the water was still 33 degrees in the dark for 30 minutes, 25 minutes by yourself.
25 minutes in the live stream.
Yeah, so let's just acknowledge that simple fact.
Okay.
That takes a different
different
style,
breed.
different breed of human to do that.
I was a psychopath.
And you did that, right? And then you talked to the camera. You were live on this, right?
Correct.
Managed to talk to the camera for 25 minutes. So that is within you, and I've seen it within you too, because you did 30 minutes,
right?
Which is crazy. So back to Tuesday. Tuesday was, let's just say this. My wife and I went to Montana for a month, and we were at 7,000 feet of elevation, and there's this lake called Georgetown Lake, and it's basically about 35 degrees all year long. It's a glacier lake. It's crystal clear, salmon, trout, beautiful. It's incredible. And when I went out there, I go, I'm going to have a lot of free time because it's just my wife and I. And I have nothing on the calendar for 30 days. So I'm going to jump in that lake for at least 7 minutes a day for 30 straight days. And I think what's interesting about that is you find out a lot about yourself. Mm-hmm. You find out your relationship with your word. And if you don't have a strong relationship with your word, I don't know what you have. In other words, I've invited this same guy to Substance Church probably 57 times. Just the church I go to, right? Love it. And he said yes probably like 10 of those 57 times. And he has failed to show up every single one of those 10 times. I still love this guy to death, and I'll still continue to invite him. But what I have to just reference and acknowledge that he doesn't have a strong relationship with his word, which means he's probably beating himself up for not showing up. You guys following me on that?
Mm-hmm. Sure. Yep.
Okay. So that tells me I need to even love him and be graceful with him and, just be patient and empathetic with him because he's probably beating himself up for not acknowledging his word. I don't ever want to be the person because I know how hard I am on myself when I break my word to myself. And so that's why I make decisions like I want to jump in this lake for 30 straight days because I just know I'll do it because I know what it looks like in my own mind and the person I have to deal with when I don't do it. Right.
I do that same thing.
Following me?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So we're our own worst critics, and my voice in my head, there's always two voices, right? For the listeners that are like, is this guy crazy or bipolar or what? No, like there's always two voices. There's one that's like, Andrew Decky, absolutely you guys can do this shit, no problem, go for it. And then there's the other voice that sometimes it's louder and sometimes it's softer that goes, no, you can't, you're weak, you're soft, you're going to screw it up, you're going to fail, it's a lot safer not to do it. Right. And I really believe that whatever our destiny looks like is strictly based on whichever voice we choose to listen to. Mm. And so for me, when I choose to listen to the voice that isn't so kind, we'll just say, I basically am always playing it safe. I'm not risking. I'm not going for it. I'm not contributing. I'm worried about basically taking care of myself. It's very scarce. Versus when we choose to listen to the voice that's like, yeah, you can do this. You can go for it. And then we actually listen, and then we take action based on that voice, then you do things like raise $10,000 for a family that you've never met in your entire life. Mm-hmm. And that's when you choose to start a podcast that has impacted probably tens, if not hundreds of thousands of people. Because the voice was still there, the little voice that isn't so kind, but you choose to listen to the bigger, more empowering voice.
Mm.
You following me?
Yes.
So I went a long way and all over the place there to answer your question, but I hope I got somewhere that was useful.
No, I loved what you said when you said I don't want to deal with that version of myself when I don't hold myself accountable. And like, dude, that just like drives me the same way. I don't want to deal with it because I know it's a shitty feeling when you let yourself down. And I totally forgot, like, Andrew, remember when I think COVID already struck and the Embrace the North thing was not happening, but the water was still cold? Andrew and I in the mornings would wake up and run from our house to the Lake of the Isles, and we would walk out there and just like sit there. And like, I looked forward to that all the time when I did that. And I think I don't know why. Like I think back to like how I was able to do that, and I just got excited, man. I just knew I was excited and I had the intention to do it, but then I knew myself well enough to know where my first blockade and my barrier to entry would be, and that's why I asked about the everyday thing, because when you wake up in the morning and you're warm in your bed, the last thing you want to do is go jump into somewhere and get cold. And that is the part where you're just like, the second your alarm wakes you up, you're like, don't want to do it. And so I walk myself through that situation often. Like, okay, how am I going to respond when I'm in that situation? Because I know it's going to happen. And I just kind of work it through and try and prepare myself. But yeah, it's also fun, like convincing you to do it too, right?
Right. No, 100%.
Because like, hey, Andrew, want to wake up in the morning?
And I'm like, hell no. But then you do it 3 times in a row. I'm like, all right, 4th time I'll be there.
I got you, dude. I got you with the video.
You bait and hooked me.
Yep, it was great.
Committing yourself and following through, that is like the ultimate fulfillment. We've talked about commitment time and time again on this podcast. And committing to doing it for 30 days, committing to do it for one time. But when you're choosing to to enter into a whirlwind of adversity, like you're picking to put yourself in that position. Right. And then you have to deal with it, and you realize it wasn't so bad, and it never has been so bad. But it's beautiful doing it and putting yourself in this little uncomfortable situation, and then walking out and being like, I don't know if I'm a healthier person because of this. It does not matter. I don't know if it could be harming my body, but I genuinely don't think it is. I'm listening to Wim Hof, and I'm believing what Wim Hof's saying.
He did 4 hours. I can do 30 minutes.
Right. So just the mental, I dive into the mental aspect of that cold water every time, and I couldn't be prouder of myself whenever I get in it, and I choose to just sit with myself and be like, damn it, you're good, just breathe.
Yeah.
And doing that for 10 minutes straight, doing it for however many minutes, and then overcoming it, it's really cool. It's exciting. It's thrilling.
It's really cool.
It was like Andrew and I took this video.
Cool.
It's really cool.
Like
we overuse the word cool, but it is damn cool.
It's a damn cool thing, man. I mean, there's no better. There was no more energized person in the McDonald's parking lot yesterday than us. Oh man, we had 2 OJs coming. We had like 4 burritos, 2 sausage McMuffins.
This is post workout.
This is post workout. We're like
post Embrace North. Yeah.
It was so funny too.
It's like, hey, because we were about to go do the drop at noon, and we were getting back to the house at 10, and we had to finish a couple wrapping things. We're like, we need to eat, and we're like, how about a little Mickey D's?
Why not?
Thanks.
Why not? You guys get this, and I hope and pray your listeners get this. And I'm not going to use the analogy of an ice bath because a lot of people can't relate to that. I'm going to use just the analogy of jogging or running. And so something that I truly believe without question, that self-respect comes from doing the hard things. So what does that mean? Well, if we're on a running plan, and that running plan that day says I'm supposed to run a 5K, that's what my app says, whatever the app might be. You go, okay, I don't really feel like running a 5K, 3.1 miles. It's cold out. It's December. I'm going to do it anyway. And you end up, and you rattle off 4.2 miles instead of 3.1. Do you feel like a different human being on the other side of that? Yes or no?
Yes. 1,000,000%. Yeah.
1,000,000%. Absolutely. There's no question. Versus, all right, I'm not really feeling it today. It's kind of warm in my bed, Man, God, it'd be a lot easier just to have a coffee, and you choose not to. or you choose just to run 2.2 miles that day. And physically, you could have done 3.1, but mentally, you go, I'm only going to do 2.2 because I'm a little sore or I'm a little tired from yesterday. Do you have a different experience of yourself as a human being on that day versus the day you decided to run 4 miles?
Yes.
Without question, right? And so I'm always like, is it this hard or is it this easy that self-respect comes from having to do the hard things? And what I've found in my life is, for me, I have a lot more respect for myself when I choose to do things that I don't want to do. I choose to do the hard things. And I hope and pray I can get to the point one day where I can just be okay with myself without having to do stupid shit all the time.
That is a quote. That is a quote.
Like, I'm praying for that every day. And I'm not there yet. And I truly think that's what enlightenment would look or feel like. When you're cool with yourself no matter what you're doing. And I'm a long way from it. And I think that's a lifelong journey. And if anybody has the recipe to get there, I will take it. I just know the recipe for success right now is to do really hard shit every single day.
Amen to that.
I love that, man. It's so funny too. Like, we're never, I mean, hate to say it to you, but we're never going to stop doing stupid shit. Like, you know that, right?
I hope we don't.
We'll think about like we're always evolving. Like, there's gonna be another stupid thing for us to do. And maybe one day when you can't even bend down to get in the ice bath, you're doing something else, trying to challenge yourself to get up the stairs. Like, why is Grandpa Kunz just walking up and down the stairs a bunch? Because he told himself he was going to do it 50 times because he'd never done it before. It's like, why didn't you just take the elevator or float up there? I don't know. No, because it's your mind, man. It's your mind that is telling you to do those things. Like,
That's the muscle.
that's the muscle. Yeah, it's not the object of the water or the struggle to get out of your bed. It's the mind, 100%. I'll use this example because you brought up the run thing, and I started. I mean, a lot of my run, I just basically run for workouts now because I don't have any equipment or anything. But now that I'm on this farm, I tried running after work, and I got a headlamp and everything. I'm like ready to go. But like, you got to remember, I'm in the middle of absolute nowhere, in the middle of the Sonoran Desert, just on this random farm. And I'm running at night, so I only have like a 5-foot radius in front of me of what I can see. But like, dude, there's like dead cows like on the side of the road. There's all kinds of random critters and stuff. And one night I was running, and one of the neighbor's dogs was just seeing me run on the street and just came into my frame, scared the piss out of me. And I was like, oh man, like my next day, I'm like sitting there, put my shoes on. I'm like, do I do this again? Like, I don't want to get scared by the dog. Like, it sucks, but I did it, and there wasn't a dog or anything. But there was this guy that was stopped at the stop sign as I was wanting to turn, and he yells out the window. He goes, "You're an absolute psychopath. It's freezing out. What are you doing?" And I'm like, first off, it's not freezing. It's 55 degrees, sir. Then second off, I am getting my workout in today, and that's what I'm doing. And I don't know what it was, but I guess my energy was super attractive to this dude because I ran past him, and then he just turned and followed me and just rolled the window down and started asking questions like,
"No shit.
How far are you running? What are you doing?" Like, I'm like, "I'm just running after work today. I just moved here, like blah blah blah." And I was asking what he was doing. I think I was asking I asked if he was smoking weed because as I was running past, I was like, damn, it really smells like weed. So I was like, dude, were you just rolling up at that stop sign back there? He goes, no, I wish. I was like, whatever. And we just like started talking. And anyways, finished with this, which was great. And this is what was the validation for like me, saying, okay, I won't go get scared by the dog. We were like, the conversation was going down. I was still jogging, and he's just rolling at 2 miles an hour or whatever. And before we parted, I just reached through the window and gave him knucks, and I just said, "Keep on dreaming, brother." And he was like, "Thanks, man." He drove off, and I was just like, that was cool. Like, I just loved that little experience of like joy that I brought someone, simply because I was like, I'm not gonna go get
Just
scared
being
by
yourself.
Yeah, I'm just exactly, dude. I'm just out there by myself, and I'm glad it just gave me some good validation. It was fun. But now I don't. But truthfully, I don't think I'm running anymore. I'm gonna buy some dumbbells. some like ones that can go from like 10 to 55 pounds, and put that outside and then create an outdoor gym because my RV has outdoor speakers. I literally have a gym outside my house.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
Decky West Coast.
I love that story so much, and there's so many takeaways. And I think one of the takeaways is I think everybody – so where do I go with this, man? Because this guy, he's sitting at a stop sign, and he sees you jogging. Did you have a shirt on or not?
I did have a shirt on.
You did, so that's surprising. Let's just make that point. I don't think I've ever seen you post a video running with the shirt on. So
Ooh,
Great
that's a
point.
good
Great point.
so just gonna clarify that.
Point to Kunz there.
But he literally pulls and runs. He's driving alongside you while you're running.
Yeah.
I don't even know what to say to that other than like clearly. I think people want to be. I think people want to do a lot of things that they refuse to let themselves do. I think he would have loved to be out there that morning running with you. But for whatever reason, he's not allowing himself to do so. But in that split second, the fact that he saw you at early in the morning in his mind in a freezing environment go out and run, in my mind, I just always believe that something shifted for him that day just a little bit. And I don't think we always acknowledge the fact that we have and we can have that impact on every single person that we touch. You following me?
Yeah.
It's a beautiful story, and it's funny, and it's light, and I'm like, it's such a great story. I'm like seeing you running. I pictured you with your shirt off. That's just, that's my frame.
Well, I mean, you speak picture like running with my shirt off. I was running with my shirt off the day before, and quick tip for all the runners out there, I verified this with Brogan, so it does check out, is when you're running at night, you should always run into traffic. So like instead of running with the traffic, you have a higher chance of getting clipped by someone because you're not actually physically seeing them, and they're also not really seeing you if they're not paying attention. So I actually always run on the opposite side, and I run into the cars, and I have my headlamp on so they know and see me, and then I always usually wave at them so that I just think it guarantees my life expectancy. Like it helps me live longer.
I agree.
So anyways, I was running out without my shirt the first day, and one interesting thing about like farmland is I just feel like people are so isolated, and when they see a new person, it's like seeing a unicorn. Because the first time I was running, I had a guy drive past me and then slammed on the brakes and rolled down his window and asked if I needed any help.
Wow.
He thought I was like running from someone or something, or I had a problem. And I was like, that is so cool. Like,
Arizona.
People are generous.
Yeah.
People are generous, right? Back to the point. People are generous.
Yeah. Freaking nuts.
That's good stuff.
Absolutely bananas.
Kunz, I want to say thank you. Thank you for challenging us. Thanks for being you and being an inspiration for the Backpocket, for Declan and I, to push ourselves in many different areas, specifically with Best Christmas Ever that we talked about today. But you've made an impact from the time that we had you on last November. You came in with a juicer, and you pre-showed us.
You pre-showed us.
That's right.
And you gave us the Live a Great Story.
Which is hanging up right outside
hanging
there.
up outside, right? You still stickered on my water bottle.
Yeah.
And you showed us who you truly are, and with Malia. We've continued to grow in this relationship into things that we've talked about today. So thank you. Really care about this relationship, and I appreciate you.
Yeah. I love you guys, right? I can say that. You guys are living a great story. There's no question about that. It was, I remember going into this podcast, I was so nervous.
Last time?
Yeah.
Really?
Like, Malia's like, are you nervous? I'm like, no. What do you mean? Like, of course. And I was so nervous. I speak for a living. But I saw what you guys had built, and I wanted to contribute to your community that you had worked so hard to build for so long. So it was incredible how much pressure I put on myself. But the reason I share that is because I see a lot of you guys and myself, and vice versa. And something that I have learned to do only one time a year, and this might sound weird without a frame of reference, so I'll frame it up in a moment. But actually, I write myself a thank you note on December 31st every single year. And I do that because of what we talked about before, how we are often our own worst critics. And you guys will do everything for everyone else, and you'll accomplish everything in the world because your heart is in the right place. And rarely will you give yourselves any credit or thank or acknowledge yourselves for all of the hard work that you guys put in. And so I'd invite you guys this year, in the next 2 to 3 weeks, sit down and just write down everything that you're appreciative for this year from your own perspective. And literally it looks like this. Dear Andrew, thank you for, and then you just rap, right? I would take like a good 25, 30, 35 minutes on this. Dear Declan, and then you just rap on it and just riff on it. And I think it's one of the most powerful things that we can do at the end of any year. But you look at the end of this year, and I don't know if there could be a more impactful exercise for us just to acknowledge and appreciate ourselves for all of the work that we do. And I'd say all of the work that you guys have done for the last 4 years to pour into the community and to pour into your network.
That's awesome.
That is a great idea. Mm-hmm. That is freaking awesome. And we definitely should do that.
Yeah. And I'd like to wrap it up on that note. This was a 2 hours well spent.
That's what it was, 2 hours.
I'm looking at the...
Felt like 30 minutes.
Yeah, it's an hour 50.
1 hour 50 right now.
Yeah. And we're able to document what we just accomplished in a way that we probably couldn't unpack in our own heads because this is the first time doing it, so we didn't know exactly. You don't know exactly how you're supposed to view it, what your perspective could be, and you just kind of came in with another source.
We also love podcasts when we have the guests where the guests ask us questions, like when you texted me, when you texted me and you were like, just so you know, I want you guys to do 95% of the talking, and I want to ask the questions. And I showed that text to Andrew today. I go, if there's one thing you want to look forward to today on a Sunday, it's this text right here. Like, like I love. It's just so fun, man. Because you're right. We don't. I mean, I purposely. I want to sell myself short because I know that there's always more to grow and there's more to do, and just like that humility is the energy that I would much rather have in my court than have a success pinnacle thing that I do. I love falling short. So like I love that aspect of it, but it's so fun to talk about it when people are like genuinely curious, or just people that like get it, like yourself. And I'm just very, very thankful for a guy like you to have in our court who is willing to call us in the good times, and he's willing to call in the bad times. I'll finish with this story, and I think it's like it just shows your character to like the umpteenth degree. So earlier this year, when we were getting ready to throw Bochella in the middle of a pandemic, you obviously had my mom getting mad at me, Andrew's mom showing concerns. Obviously, lots of people are reaching out, telling us, hey, like this is okay, blah blah blah. But you had such a different and unique perspective on it because you're in the health and safety occupancy thing, and you've already been through some of this first wave issues. And you call me, and it was like, talk about the different voices. When you said that earlier, like you have all these different things, these maybe two different faces. I got this call from you, and it was like a different tone. It was like, Declan, how's it going? I'm like, ooh, it's going good, Jason. But you didn't. Everyone that had a negative thing to say about Bochella was like, don't do it. And you were calling and saying, how are you going to be ready to respond, and what are you going to say in this situation? And then you let me answer, and then you said, okay, this is what we've done. This is how we've responded. And I just want to make sure you're safe in knowing about like being aware of what your response should be or how it can be formatted and formulated. And I was like, okay, that told me right then and there that like you care deeply about us. Like you follow, you're obviously following what we're doing, and you called to have like the tough conversation because like you genuinely care. And ever since that, man, I mean, it's just like, that is a moment I always look back to. Amid all of the different ice plunges that we have, I heard we're getting into breath work now too, so that's gonna get a little intense. I'm excited for the breath work dumb stuff that we get into. I shouldn't call it dumb, but it's breathing.
It's basically 60 minutes of hyperventilating. So yeah, it could be considered dumb. I think most medical professionals would frown upon it, which means we should probably lean into it twice as hard.
Correct. Exactly. That's how we always operate. But like I said, man, I just want to say thanks. Like I love there's just like a sense of accountability, and just like it came from the heart, and I could tell, and I just like really appreciate you for everything, including that story.
There's a lot of guys pulling. There's a lot of people pulling for you guys, and I mean, man, you guys have you've turned making a difference for people into a science. And if you can live life with making a difference for people and get really good at making a difference for people, you're always, I would say, not only going to be fulfilled, but you're going to have incredible impact. And that's what you guys have done. And that's why people want to have those phone calls with you, because they see your hearts, right? And they see your guys' integrity, and they see just who you are. So, I mean, I don't know. I could talk to you guys all night, right? It's Sunday night, and my wife and I got journaling on Sunday at 7 p.m., and now it's 7:39 p.m., so I'm late.
Oh, shit.
But we could literally talk all night. But, yeah, I mean, I appreciate Decky. Man, I appreciate you. Andrew, I appreciate you. You guys are always pushing the everybody around you to the next level, and you're always raising the bar. 20 minutes isn't enough in the ice, so I got to do 30. Right? Running with your shirt off in the summer isn't enough, so I'm going to run in Denver, Colorado, in the mountains with my shirt off when it's 7 degrees. Like, you guys are just always pushing people to the next level, and I believe people want to be challenged, and you guys challenge us, which, I mean, I love hanging out with you guys, and I look forward to what's next. Let's just say that.
I look forward to what's not happening next.
I
Amen.
can't wait to see what happens next. What a way to end it.
Cheers. We love you guys. That's a wrap.
That's a wrap.